Okay. All right. Well, we've just gone past 7 o'clock, so I'd like to welcome the small number tonight who are here live in our rooms at Moorabbin, and to the somewhat larger number who have joined us online, and others who will no doubt be watching the recording. And tonight we have two very interesting guest speakers. One is online and the other one here. And I think Kirsten and others do a great job of attracting very, very interesting guest speakers. At the various SIGs, we tend to deal with the technicalities of and the intricacies of computers, but at our central meeting here, there's a bit of an effort to broaden our horizons, if that's the right expression. So the two speakers will take an hour or so. After our guest speakers, there'll be a 15-minute intermission, and during the intermission, we'll draw a raffle, and those online will find it difficult to participate in the raffle. You can organise one in your own homes. And then our President Hugh McDonald will have something to say, and then, as usual, we have iHelp, and Bert Alisish, he'll tell me I've said it wrong, will tell us what iHelp's been up to, and there'll be the opportunity for some Q&A. And we finish the meeting formally at 9 o'clock, regardless of what's happening. And if Bert's happy and other people still want to ask questions, that can continue informally. And I suspect some others will repair to Fong's Chinese restaurant in Centre Road for what we call a waffle sig. Wine and fast food lovers, something or other. Anyway, so that's what's going on tonight. So I'd now like to introduce our first speaker, and his name is Damien Melotte, and his topic is Fab Labs, Community and Circular Cities. I don't know anything about any of those things, so I'm really looking forward to hearing Damien. And Damien is the Strategic Design Director at an organisation called Goodhuman and Vice Chairman of the O2 Global Network for Sustainable and Regenerative Design. And he's done a whole lot of work in Australia. He's been very interested in Australian Indigenous knowledge systems, which is a lifelong passion of his. He's done a lot of work overseas, and he's here tonight to talk to us on the subject of Fab Labs, Community and Circular Cities. And I invite him to tell us a little bit about himself, because he's a man with great passion, and if you know a little bit about his background, then you can understand the passion as well. So if you're happy with all that, Damien, over to you. I will just say one other thing, sorry. We've got two speakers tonight, and we thought we'd have a combined question time, because there could be some interaction between the two, if that's all right with you.
Great.
Thanks, Damien.
Yeah, thanks very much for the very generous and kind introduction. And thank you so much to MelbPC community and friends for having me here today. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to a community that has such altruistic kind of, community actions, helping each other and helping those, learning technology. So when Kirsten asked me if I could speak tonight, I was really humbled and very happy to be here, to be invited. So I'll share my screen now to take you through a little bit of a presentation, and kind of jump over some of these kind of the main issues that we're talking about tonight, which is Fab Labs, fabrication labs, community and circular cities. And I look forward to discussing some of these ideas. share my screen now. Okay. And share. Right. Okay. Can everyone's... Oh, wait a minute. We're going to press slideshow. There we go. Can everyone see that okay? Okay, so I grew up in Dalsford, Hepburn Springs. I was lucky enough to have father and grandfather show me around the bush and explain natural systems. So I was lucky enough to become a systems thinker from early on. And I went into industrial design as my first degree. And I did a postgraduate diploma in Indigenous Technology and Information Technology, so ITC, and then went on to do a Masters of Design. And at that time, I first became familiar with 3D AutoCAD. Actually, I learned AutoCAD at university, industrial design, but I started becoming familiar with kind of 3D modular design for my Masters. So that involved actually using 3D routers to cut out three-dimensional shapes in timber, and being able to house stainless steel in jarrah and other solid timbers to reduce the amount of timber utilized and to strengthen joints. Yeah, so that was led into traveling overseas and exhibiting around Europe and working with a few European companies. And yeah, and over time I got more into biomimicry, looking at nature as inspiration for my design work. And eventually started becoming more and more proficient in working in digital design. So rather than designing three-dimensional products, started working with digital systems and designing websites and apps and digital applications. And so this is a ecosystem for the PREP, which is a packaging recycling evaluation portal. And it's actually, the PREP is utilized by all the kind of main fast-moving consumer goods organizations like Coles and Woolworths to measure the recyclability of their packaging. And here's an example of a circular, an app for a modular building marketplace. I've worked in a few different apps, things like that. But the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight was the emergence of around the last 12 years or so. So it's called Fab Labs, which is short for a fabrication laboratory, which is a small scale kind of workshop. It's equipped with digital tools, like many of you would be familiar with, like 3D printers, laser cutters, CNC machines. So the Fab Labs are kind of scattered around the world, and they're part of a network that promote kind of open source and open data and learning and innovation by providing access to tools that can almost make anything that you can draw on a computer, which is incredible. So these labs support a community of makers and learners, including students, artists, entrepreneurs, and mentors, encouraging them to create, learn, and collaborate. So this is a little poster by the Fab Lab community. So you can see there, Fab Lab is about making ideas kind of come to life. So there's kind of digital fabrication laboratories, which I just mentioned. How do they work? By giving people access to a range of advanced digital manufacturing technologies, 3D printer, 3D scanner, laser cutters, CNC mills, plotters, making tools. It's about turning data into things. So the great thing about the World Wide Web and the internet is you can share most things at the touch of a button. And so these Fab Labs are sharing 3D designs of objects around the world, and the kind of the community spirit behind Fab Labs is really around open source and open data, which is fascinating. I've actually I found a little snippet of a video that just plays for about 2 minutes, and it's a fast-talking American gentleman. He's trying out a kind of Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro, which is a 3D printer, and he kind of touches on printing in metal and metal kind of polymers, and he touches on 3D scanning. So I'm just going to play that now. So hopefully the sound will work. So just have a little look at this for those who are new to 3D scanning and 3D printing.
Three different colors all at once. And I thought I would print something that would look interesting in multicolor, so I'm going to print this little axolotl. And when slicing this, I forgot to turn off the brim option, but it didn't affect anything, it looks like. But anyways, here it is all done, and it is a little bit stringy. And this is my first time printing with this material, so I'm going to have to tune it a little better next time. So let me get it off the build plate, clean it up, and let's see how it looks. And it looks like it came out pretty good with the interesting colors all mixing together, so every way you hold it, it looks like a different color. It does have a little bit of under extrusion in parts, and a little bit of blobbing here and there that just kind of pop off. So I definitely need to dial in the settings for this particular filament, but it does print. And honestly, I like to use 3D printers for practical printing, so things I can actually use. And with this printer having a direct drive setup, it is perfect for printing flexible filaments. So I designed a gasket or seal for some mirrors that I'm working on. And after just about an hour, I have my part. But flexible materials on a flex plate don't really just pop off. So it needed a little bit of help with the scraper. But it did come off and it printed out perfectly. And as you can see, it is completely flexible, seeing that I printed this out of TPU. Now let's see if they'll actually work on the part that I made them for. So these are some cheap F1 style mirrors, and these are pretty much universal and don't come with any type of gasket or seals or anything. So that's why I made my own. And look at that, it looks like it fits perfectly. As I was doing all this, a friend of mine was complaining about a part that they were trying to print on their new printer using TPU, and it was just stringing like crazy. So I had them send over the STL file, and I sliced it just using the generic settings for TPU, and it looks like it came off the printer pretty much perfect with no stringing whatsoever. So I've also been working on a new mounting assembly for the mirrors on my MX3. So I did a quick 3D scan of the area, so I have a reference. And now with this scan, I can start working on a mounting system, seeing that I have all the correct positions for all the mounting holes. Just for prototyping, I'm going to be using some TLA from Polymaker. This is some stuff I have left over. And here we go, I have my prototype mounting assembly. It comes in really handy to be able to print small parts that are not the full piece to make sure you have everything just right. And because I was able to work off a 3D scan of this, everything lines up perfectly. I also 3D scanned the entire stock mirror assembly. That way I have more reference points when I make my own assembly. And for the most part, the scan came out pretty nice. Besides on the mirror part itself, you can see a little bit of doubling, but I don't need that part. I just need the actual mounting area shape. But this is where we're going to stop on this for now, and I'll make a full video on how I make my own custom mirrors in the future. So subscribe if you want to see that. But that's enough about all the stuff I printed for myself.
Okay. So so just on that, gentleman was basically using a 3D scanner to scan physical objects, and then went and took those objects into digital space and was able to design parts to fix his car. So that in the future, what we're imagining, there will be these kind of maker labs and fab labs and hubs to actually 3D print parts for anything you have that's broken, which means you don't have to throw it in the rubbish bin. You could actually 3D print the part, which is much better for sustainability. Because as you know, a lot of things are made very cheaply these days, and they're not made to be repaired. But there's new regulations and policies coming already in Europe now. It's called the right to repair, and they're coming to Australia as well. And it means that things will have to be made in the future so they can be repaired. So having these Fab Labs in the future is going to be more and more beneficial to communities and also to the environment. Now here's a Fab Lab house. So these you can download designs for these houses, and these are CNC machined ribs, the house and sections. So they're all cut out within CNC machine and then assembled together. That's another example of sharing information online and 3D printing a house. So next part of my talk is about what is a circular city. So a circular city runs a circular economy. And so a circular economy is based on the principles of designing out waste and pollution, keeping products and materials in use for as long as possible, and regenerating natural systems. So a typical linear economy is our current industrial economy, which is we take, make, and waste, throw things away after we use them. And that's the current way. Anyway, I know like 50 or 60 years ago, there were communities were a lot more invested in repairing, and there was many repair shops all around our communities and neighborhoods. They're no longer around. It's kind of cheaper to buy a $40 drill from Bunnings, use it until it breaks, throw it away and buy a new one. That seems to be, unfortunately, the way things have gone. So a circular economy is returning to about designing things that last, keeping products and materials in use as possible, and regenerating natural systems. So circular economy is concerned about technical cycles as well as biological cycles. And there's many different things we can do to enable a circular economy, like the Internet of Things, which is building technology into materials and into products, like putting chips into products so that the product will tell you when it needs to be repaired, or send back data to learn about how to improve future iterations, reducing materials that are not necessary from products, circular inputs like renewable energy and biodegradable products like wood, recyclable materials like high density polyethylene, and recovery through recycling. So this is a beer company, and they make the beer from recycled bread. So that's normally thrown away, which is quite nice. And the cheeky name of that company is called Toast. And things like the sharing economy. So we're all familiar with Uber and car sharing companies like the car next door. And that also helps with circular economy and circular cities. And in Sweden, Electrolux, and there used to be an Electrolux in Orange in New South Wales, actually. It's closed down a few years ago, one of the last manufacturing places for refrigerators in Australia. But Electrolux now provide refrigeration as a service. So they will rent out refrigerators, and because they're renting them and they always own the refrigerator, they sell you just the service refrigeration. Their products now are super high quality. So the consumer gets a very well-made product that lasts for a very long time. And product life extension is another part of the circular economy. So this is Patagonia, who have repair trucks that drive around the US, and also some repair shops in Australia. So they will repair any of their garments that you buy for them for free. And this is one of their workwear trucks that drive around. So people are queuing up to have their buttons sewn on and all sorts of things. Another thing for a circular economy is a safe and circular material choices. Yeah, and so I developed the circular economy strategy for Hepburn Shire, and I did a lot of research in Hepburn Shire. I grew up in Dulles, Hepburn Springs, as I said, at the area, so it was great to connect with all the business owners and all the people I grew up with. And one of the things that came out of that research is the importance of having kind of nodes for sharing infrastructure. So part of the circular economy that powers, particularly in a rural environment like Dulles and Hepburn Springs, is the social economy. So the social economy is nothing new to most people here. It's about sharing. It's about, if your friend down the road needs a delivery of something and you've got a truck coming back that's empty, you can pick up things on the way and drop it to them. So these are things that are not new, but this is about community coming together like it used to, but in using technology to help that happen. So this is a picture of an additive 3D printer, 3D printing with laser and metal powder, a turbofan. for a replacement part. So if you have a tractor or a car that needs a replacement part, in the very near future, you'll be able to 3D print those metal parts now just by simply, downloading a file to your computer, connecting to a 3D printer. So and so many of these kind of community kind of actions can power a circular city. And some of the things that, like Fab Labs, are things that you'll be familiar with, are tool libraries and repair cafes, knowledge sharing. I know on PC community there's a lot of knowledge sharing. Fab Labs and Maker Labs just talked about open source data and sharing. Things like toy libraries, you might have children or grandchildren who access toy libraries. Community altruism is also a big driver for the circular economy. And so altruism also is proven to aid longevity. So it's good to give to your community. It actually makes you live longer, which is pretty good. So Fab Labs, community and circular cities, what's next? So as urban centers evolve towards more kind of sustainable, inclusive models, Fab Labs can be positive catalysts for change, driving the transition to circular economies through community involvement and open innovation. That's an open source, sharing files online that I talked about. So the integration of Fab Labs into the urban landscape, into urban communities, will help the future where community, creativity, and sustainability are interconnected, redefining how cities operate and thrive. So I think that's the end of my talk now. I'll stop sharing my screen, and that should take you back to me.
Damien, we said that we'd like to do questions together after the second speaker as well.
Yes, certainly.
But before you do, one of the things that you've mentioned on your blurb is the Indigenous Doughnut initiative.
Yes.
And you've got me puzzled. I'm trying to wrap my mind around what is an Indigenous doughnut.
Right. Okay. Well, let me bring up something that can help with that quickly. I'll quickly. I was worried about time, so I didn't actually bring that along. But I'll share my screen again, and then quickly show you what that is. Okay, so the Indigenous Doughnut is a country-centered circular economy model. It's basically a circular economy model, like I've just talked about, but it's based on Indigenous knowledge systems, and it actually is very strong in talking about community and as a way of powering just and fair economy. So the difference with a Western economic model and an Indigenous economic model is that it has country and the care of country and the care of nature at the center of the model. So so what can I tell you about that? I guess the Indigenous Doughnut also has something that doesn't really feature in modern economic models, which is the deep understanding of seasons at a bioregional level. So understanding the seasons in your land. And it's funny because most of us will have gardens and know what the seasons do intimately, but our economies aren't, our larger economies aren't really conscious of that. It's more about how much you can extract for how much money. So this model is just really looking at a kind of more nature intuitive care for country and care for each other. So and that's what we've built, and so that's been adopted by Sustainability Victoria and Deakin University for their new circular cities kind of program. And I could spend hours talking about this. It's a big passion. it's been a couple of years' work. We're working with Indigenous leaders in Victoria, and Paul Payton, the CEO of the Federation for Victorian Traditional Owner Corporations, is, become a friend over the last 13 years. And yeah, it's just very interesting that with in Australia, there's 60,000 years of knowledge about how to live sustainably in Australia, and we've come here in the last 200 years and buggered the country up quite a lot as far as over exploiting it and using a lot of the resources inefficiently, and so it's really interesting tapping into that knowledge and learning from it, and very humbling experience. So so anyway,
well, thank you. You're obviously very, very passionate about that.
No, it's good. It's got a lot to learn there. So it's very, very humbling to work in that space. But
well, Damien, thank you very much.
No worries.
So you can have a sip of white wine or something for a moment.
Oh, I wish it was.
and I'd like to introduce now Glenys Reid. And Glenys has fought with the traffic as I did tonight to be here alive. To be here live, I mean. And and she's going to talk to us about Chatty Cafes. And I will read a little bit of a blurb that came off the website, but I think it'll need a bit of filling out. And it goes, after experiencing an unexpected period of social isolation in late 2017, Glenys began introducing Chatty Cafe to Australia in late 2019 in an informal partnership with the UK Chatty Cafe office. It's hard to say some of these things. The national bushfires in 2019 and the old COVID-19 pandemic made it clearer than ever to Glenys that Australia needs its local communities to be encouraged to stay socially connected to help prevent loneliness at all stages of life. And Glenys believes that Chatty Cafe Australia can help communities do that. And she's also interested in figuring out whether there's some way in which our club rooms, which is a chatty place, could link up with what's going on. That's all to be chatted about, and I'm sure I haven't done justice to what Glenys is going to say, but Glenys, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Barry. Can we hear? We good? We good? Thank you very much to MelbPC for the opportunity to have a chat with everybody around this topic. And Damien, I found yours particularly interesting. It's a matter of how we can join the dots between sort of the circular caring economy and caring community with Chatty Cafe, which is also very, very similar in terms of caring about community and bringing it together. As Indigenous people, they reference to caring for country. We also need to care for the people in that country. And there's certainly been considerable concern about the status of what's going on in community at the moment in terms of our caring about each other. So I'm going to ask Kirsten's going to look after the technology side of things. I found it a bit difficult following Damien's Fab Labs, I must say. Sorry, Damien, but Kirsten will drive the technology at this end. Who are and what is Chatty Cafe? So if you could just move on to the next slide, that's good. Okay. So what we're all about is social isolation and loneliness, and there's a few people sitting in the room here, and several of you are online. The statistics are fairly glum on that, and it would be that possibly 1 in 3 people across Australia is lonely some of the time, and 1 in 6 have chronic loneliness. And it may be that people like yourselves are sitting watching the Zoom and you may have had your own episodes of loneliness. You may be carers, which can be a very isolating experience, etc. So what Chatty Cafe is about bringing people together and assisting people to form social connections. In terms of sort of where we are, I've got a long list there. And when I introduced Chatty Cafe, and as Barry said, I had my own experience of social isolation and loneliness completely unexpectedly in 2017, 2018. I think, as often happens when you have an experience, you have a different lens that you're viewing the world in during that period of time. And I would go to cafes in my local area, because I'm based in Melbourne, and I would notice quite a few people sitting by themselves. But it was really interesting. Either they had props that I thought of as sort of laptops or their phone or maybe a book or the newspaper, but they actually weren't actually looking at those props. They're actually looking out across the cafe or restaurant, etc., the social place that they were sitting. And they would engage potentially with the staff or the barista or the manager that they knew, but they wouldn't reach out the fact that there was 2 or 3 people sitting alone at tables also, just sort of sitting by themselves and also looking out, but not looking out and reaching out to the people who were also sitting around them that were by themselves and potentially lonely and socially isolated. Not in every case, but certainly at times. So I just thought that was fascinating, and I didn't make most concerning. I went and did some research on loneliness and social isolation. And as Barry said, I discovered in the UK that they had something called Chatty Cafe UK, which had begun also in 2017, and we started it up here in Australia in 2019. And where Chatty Cafe venues have ended up have been much a surprise to me. The sort of the term cafe really doesn't represent where we've got venues now. You can see from that long list there, we've got them in bars, all sorts of community facilities, retirement village, aged care residences, farms, bowling clubs, croquet clubs. They're all over. Op shops that have signed up. We've got over 230 now across primarily in the east of Australia. And the goal of those is to offer up a table where the customers are encouraged to chat with other customers or people who are participating in activities around them, etc., which fits beautifully with the MelbPC concept. They've got this amazing space here in Melbourne, and it's very, very big. It's absolutely wonderful, but how much is it being optimised in terms of, one, the number of people coming to the venue and really engaging with it, as well as particularly the demographics of the people coming here. And I'll show you some demographics that would indicate that there's a huge opportunity for people with the sorts of skill sets that you folks have to engage with youth, and that I'll sort of share with you right now that the fastest growing community of lonely people in Australia are youth 18 to 24, which is terrifying, and what's happened to community. So that's a key area, and also middle-aged men. Some of you sort of sitting in front of me here, and possibly online, middle-aged men are the second group of lonely people growing in numbers, which is very, very concerning. I just want to share I don't want to stick with doom and gloom too long, but I just want you to be aware that the impacts of social isolation and loneliness on people are quite significant. What I would like to do is just explain the differential between social isolation and loneliness as we speak about it. Social isolation is not, it's about quantity. It's about potentially just not having enough people that are friends to provide you the opportunities that you need to engage in the sorts of activities that you want. So it's about quality, social isolation, more opportunity for social connection. Loneliness is a far more complex issue, and that's really about quality. You can have 200 friends, and you hear young people saying, you know, I've got 500 friends on Facebook. But at the end of the day, in terms of the quality of those relationships. When you get in trouble, how many of those can you really reach out to? So loneliness is about the quality of the relationships you've got and how to reach out to them. I just wanted to flip across to some statistics. Kirsten's going to play between items here. Can you get that one up? It's not on the screen. No. Never mind. Look, let's just keep going. But there's some rather startling statistics at Ending Loneliness Together, the political advocacy not-for-profit that tries to meet as often as possible up in Canberra with political leaders, and a study they've done from 2023, which gives some very, very dire statistics around loneliness and social isolation. And I would just share with you something like, in terms of the state with loneliness affecting everyone, the state that's got the highest rate of similar levels of loneliness, they're all similar level, but ACT 40% of the population. The next is Queensland with 35%, South Australia with 35%. Oh, Tassie's got 37%. So just sort of moving on in terms of sort of going down from there. All states experience similar levels of loneliness, but it's most concerning. In terms of the conditions that can be caused, both physical, mental and social health impacted, anxiety and depression, obesity, cardio problems, COVID proved that lack of social connection during COVID, particularly for people in the early stages of dementia, exacerbated their situation, etc. So there are serious physical and mental outcomes to people having and experiencing loneliness and social isolation. So that just gives you an idea of the 230 venues that we've got across Australia at the moment. At the moment, the sort of algorithm around all of that is that we end up with around 60,000 opportunities for engagement, an hour a week in terms of conversation, with the number of people that are coming to Chatty venues and engaging and having conversation based on a minimum of 5 at any Chatty event over venues, etc. So that's good. What I did want to do was just show you quickly a bit, as Damien did, just the state government made a video for us around what Chatty Cafe is, and the people that are represented here are very good examples of why Chatty is helping this fairly dire situation. And I call what we're having happening, and as do others, an epidemic. And it's also a silent and invisible epidemic with those numbers. If 1 in 3 people are lonely across Australia every week, this is really, really concerning.
Chatty Cafe is all around connecting community, social isolation and social inclusion, and the need is very, very great.
The essence of Chatty, I guess, is that thing about community, bringing people together, about having respectful conversations, about not just chatting but also listening. It's really important that we engage with people, and so we take that little bit of essence around with us, and we can drop it into any situation, be it a community centre, a library, like today in a wonderful cafe. It can anywhere where people can meet. We can take that essence of Chatty and the whole thing can get up and running, and you can see it grow, and it is quite truly amazing to see what happens.
We've also had, in particular, one long-term customer who prepared for us a questionnaire. She's lived in the area for a really long time, and she prepared about 20 questions that would be local to Sandringham members as a quiz, as an opener, just to get people comfortable to chat and get involved. And so that was something she just did for us, which was just so lovely. But that just shows that the spirit that it's brought people together in all sorts of ways. It's nice, yeah.
I found after my being widowed for many years, I was looking for company and to connect up with community. I attended this Chatty Cafe when it first opened, and I thought it's a great initiative for older people and to help the social isolation. I've made some lovely friends, I've met some very interesting people, and people from different walks of life with their own stories to tell.
I find this Chatty Cafe is a very good way of encouraging people just to get out and meet other people.
There's heaps of benefits. I think especially because of the lockdowns we had, people got really isolated, and a lot of the older people aren't good with technology, so it's face-to-face for them or picking up the telephone, and they really needed to be able to get back out again and sit around and chat to people, because that's the best way to do it.
Everybody is so friendly. I mean, you could come and sit next to any of the tables and, people always talk to you. I think it's lovely.
It's very rewarding if I can help just one person chat. It means you can make that person walk away happy with a smile because I've had a chat with that person.
I just felt very welcome to just, go outside my comfort zone and, just see whether I could connect with some other community members. So it's helped me feel connected.
In terms of Chatty Cafe and its venues, we offer sort of three options. One's on hold at the moment because we need somebody with the capability to run chatties on Zoom. So if any of you out there are good at Zoom and conversation, then please let us know, because we're looking for facilitators to have chatty Zooms for people all over Australia to join up once a week at minimum, and for an hour or so just to have a chat. In the UK, they have quite a lot of people coming in online to have chats from all over the country, and Australia's a big, vast country with a lot of people isolated geographically, so Zoom would be a great option, but we need someone to be happy to facilitate that, or 2 or 3 people would be good. They can share it. In terms of what we offer a chatty table in terms of venues signing up. So the venues that are all over Australia, they sign up. At the moment, it's $50 annual membership plus some GST, and what they get for that are all sorts of material, both hard copy and electronic. They need to create a successful Chatty Cafe posters, brochures, table signs, etc. The table sign basically says this table's for customers to chat to other customers, and everyone is welcome, which is sort of the mantra of Chatty, is that everybody 100% is welcome. They offer that table at a time and day that suits them for as long or as little as they want, and they can also select to have a Chatty volunteer who's sort of the welcoming face of Chatty to encourage people to come and have a chat. And is regularly there for at least the first 6 to 12 weeks of a new venue to make people feel welcome until they get the general idea themselves, and the volunteer can stay or the volunteer can go and move on to another venue at that point. We're also offering for commercial venues an option which is just a big sticker on their window that says Sip, Chat, Share, Care, and encourages people to come in and chat, and that's for venues that they speak to their customers anyway. It's part of their value proposition in having a cafe or a commercial enterprise, is that they talk to the people anyway, the customers. That's what they do. So they don't want to specify a table. They don't want to specify specifically and have a volunteer, but they're saying come in here because if you come here, you're welcome. And that's proving to be quite successful too. So it's a bit like when you go and you sort of look on the window sticker of a venue and you say, do they accept American Express? Do they have Visa, MasterCard? That sticker will become something that people are looking for, and know that if they go into that particular venue, then they're going to be welcome, and then somebody's going to speak to them. Okay, so As I said, we're everywhere. Just a few photos there of the sorts of groups that we've got, including libraries and gardens, etc., and the clubs and bars. So you've got a library there, you've got a community centre, and you've got a restaurant where people gather in the evenings to have a chat. The next slide, please. Okay, and how do they work? So as I said, the venue decides the best way to run their Have a Chat table. They choose the area or the venue to allocate their Have a Chat table during their chosen times. It could be indoors or outdoors. The role of the venue is to let people know that they've got their Chatty Cafe, as well as on our Chatty Cafe website. We promote them on their Chatty Cafe website. If you go to our website, chattycafeaustralia.org.au, which is at the end of the presentation, which will be included in what MelbPC puts out for the recording, available in the recording. You can look up your area by postcode, local government area, name of a venue, state, etc., to find where the venues might be in your particular area that you might be able to go along to. We provide the information to the venue to have it be as successful as possible, both electronic information that they can download, as well as the hard copy materials we provide. And they set up their table with the signs and materials on any chosen day and time. In terms of who can join, so there for everyone, we've got people on their own, we've got people from all demographics, we've got men and women. At this point, I would say that probably 70% are women, 30% would be men, mostly people over 50. We've got some younger people, we've got people with a range of disabilities, we've got people, some people with some mental health issues. We've got carers who bring along the person that they're caring for. Some are the actual family members who are carers, which I said can be very isolating in its own right, and some are paid carers who bring along other people that they're being paid to care for to come along to the events. I saw Damien's reference to toy libraries. We had one engagement with a toy library that said there was a lot of grandparents coming along with their grandchildren, and the grandchildren were having fun in the toy library, but then they were trying to promote a space that was for the grandparents after the children were playing and comfortable, to give the grandparents an opportunity to sit around, have a coffee and have a chat, which was a fantastic idea. Also, women that are on maternity leave are often very, very isolated. That's how it started in the UK. A woman, Alex Hoskin, and she was a professional worker. She was on mat leave with a screaming baby, and she went into a cafe where there was a older lady, sitting by herself who was not talking to anybody, and a carer looking after someone who had a disability, and they weren't speaking to each other. And she just thought, imagine if we all sat together, we could have a really great chat, and we'd all brighten our day. And that's how it all started. So the tables are for everyone. No, this is on that one. Everyone, people of all ages and walks of life. We're hoping to offer opportunities to connect to people looking for safe and supported environment to reconnect. But as I said, everyone is welcome. Next slide, please. We also offer the opportunity for volunteers to participate, and they just work as offer their services as facilitators and have great conversations with people, welcoming face at the chatty table. An hour a week is all they really need to commit to, but we like them to be reliable and coming along every week. We've got some great chatty volunteers who commit to that and have become regular items. At the same time, we've got some where there's 2 or 3 volunteers, so if people are going on holiday or have a medical issue, etc., there's someone that can pop in and take their place. You act as icebreakers, and you've got to be good at both chatting and listening. We make it very clear to volunteers that they're not psychologists, they're not psychiatrists, they're not counsellors. They're just there to facilitate really nice conversations with people. and have some fun and interesting times. Next slide. In terms of community benefits, obviously community development engagement opportunities. We're looking to provide opportunities for local businesses such as MelbPC and the community to come together to increase community confidence and support growth also in the local economy. We're a Tier 1 deductible gift recipient health promotion charity. Every donation above $2 is tax deductible. And I was thinking that in particular with this sort of venue, it would be fantastic, and I see you've got a lot of special interest groups, and for this sort of venue it would be fantastic to integrate Chatty Cafe events into your special interest groups. People coming to a special interest group before or after, and as you can see with Zoom, we can also have, we say to people, if you're coming onto the online Zoom, bring a cuppa and have a chat. And you could do that if your special interest groups are also online. You can integrate that opportunity to not only focus maybe on the special interest group topic, but also give people the opportunity to just have an informal chat, which I think Barry referred to in terms of afterwards. You can, like after this meeting, people might go off to this Chinese cafe and get together. An opportunity to either chat before the start of the special interest group or after they end the special interest group, whether it's face-to-face or online. In terms of getting involved, go on to the next one. For venues, they can sign up to become a Chatty venue. It's very, very easy registration, and then they provide all the information on their venue, which is listed then on our website, so people can find you when you've got your Chatty event on. We look for people to share with their network, clients, colleagues, family and friends about Chatty, whether they be sharing it as a venue operator, as a volunteer or as a Chatty customer, and encouraging other venues to sign up as a venue, or you could also become a volunteer or supporter. Okay, and then in terms of the details there, in terms of the SIP chat share cares, $25, and that's for the poster, but you also get the listing and all the information that we can provide you with. The Chatty table, which is the $50, basically covers the pack, the hard copy pack that we send out. You can sign up as a volunteer. You can find a Chatty table. You can contact us as you need to. We're based in Hampton, Victoria, at my home, just at the back. Obviously, I don't have a cafe, but I'm surrounded by cafes in Bayside, which is great. There's a fantastic cafe in Bayside for those that are in the area on Bay Road, at the Bay Road Nursery, etc. Today I was at the Chatty Cafe at Hampton Community Centre. There was probably 30 people at that. Hyatt Community Centre, Timbuktu in Brighton. I mean, they're just for those of you that are local. If you put in Bayside, it'll come up with a list of venues that you could go to and enjoy yourself. And then we're on social media, of course. So that's sort of the next slides. We know we're saving lives. We've been told that. And also we've got a lot of groups that now connect outside of Chatty. We're just a spearhead and looking for people to make social connections. Then they make friendships and start meeting and doing other things with people, which is fantastic. A couple of blokes today that have become friends. They call themselves the Lonely Losers Group. And a few blokes, and two of them are now talking about doing the Camino Trek in 2025 together. They're the sorts of fantastic outcomes that Chatty offers people if they just start to participate and socially connect. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Glenys. I imagine that the value comes when the people who rock up to the Chatty groups stick with it and meet regularly, so they get to know each other and become a group. I on Sunday nights I run a English conversation for overseas students and others for whom English is a second language, and the official purpose is to give people the opportunity to practice English with long-term Australians. and but it's obviously more important to them than that. A lot of the overseas people are here on their own, especially the students, and they find it's nice to become part of that group. And I get a kick out of it when some people who are here for a temporary period to study or whatever then go back to Iran or Taiwan or wherever they've come from and still keep in touch with us through the our WhatsApp group and stick their two bob in every now and again. So I imagine that's what it's like. You want people to effectively join the group informally.
That's absolutely right. And in fact, today at Hampton Community Centre, one of the people that came was a woman, sort of middle-aged woman, and she is from France, and she's desperate to have opportunities to learn more English. So just sitting around chatting at the table with people that are, English is their first language, was fantastic. So she stayed for 45 minutes or so, and said she'll be back next week.
I think another cohort that would take advantage of the Chatty Cafes would be people of mature age who have lost their partners and are now single. I think those people can get very, very lonely. Okay, well, we've got time for questions, and questions can be addressed to Glenys and Damien. We've got some handheld mics here, and you're keeping an eye on Kirsten's keeping an eye on it, so we know who's putting their hands up online.
David Stonier Gibson, could you unmute and ask a question?
I am unmuted and asking questions. Thank you.
Go for it, David.
Actually, I've got a question for both of the speakers. The first one is a fairly simple one, I think, for Damien. Is there a difference between what did you call it, a Fab Lab and a makerspace?
No, there's not a great deal of difference at all. I think they're just different brands and different kind of communities for a very similar kind of entity. So no, not a big difference. The makerspace may have a few other type of projects that are not just around computer controlled equipment. So it might have a broader range of tools and equipment, for example. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking that might be something along those lines, because here at the club, and I invite you to come in and check it out in person sometime, Damien.
Yes.
Thank you. We have a 3D printer, and we're building a CNC router, and we've also beginning to sort of put together a crafts room, which is sewing machines and stuff like that. And we've got one member who is attempting to reverse engineer one of these Cricut type vinyl cuts almost anything type machines.
Yes.
That we inherited in a broken state.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, do come around sometime. Have a cup of coffee. Come and have a chat, which segues directly into my second question, which is for Glenys, and it's this. And you started to address this, but not quite. What happens in one of these chatty sessions, Glenys, if one of the top participants starts to get just a little bit too deep into their personal problems, and obviously is in need of counselling? Do you have a process for handling that?
Yes, we do. First off, we say to the volunteers, stay away from politics, sex, and religion. Okay. Not the best topics to go into unless 100% of the people sitting around the table all agree. So we stay away from those areas.
And all the volunteers that sit under the Chatty Cafe volunteer umbrella, which means they're covered by our insurance. All of them that do our training and get our pack of materials receive safety cards, we refer to them as. And if there's a person with some mental health concerns, the volunteers encouraged to take that person aside and provide them with that safety card. On the back of that are a whole range of sort of lifelines beyond blue, those sorts of respect that those sorts of organisations that they may want to access. And it's also the skill of the facilitator to segue. You occasionally have and this has happened very rarely, which I'm pleased to say. You might have someone who wants to sort of commandeer the entire conversation, or insist that their topic be the topic that everybody's got to discuss, and it doesn't work like that. It might work like that, but it doesn't have to. In terms of, you might have a table with 8 people, and there's four couples that are all people talking to each other about separate things. As long as the conversation's going ahead and everybody seems fully engaged and enjoying themselves, how the conversation unfolds. The facilitator's not there to sort of necessarily orchestrate the whole thing, nor ensure how it runs and says, well, today we're going to talk about this topic or that topic. The group can say, let's talk about this, and we provide information on sort of the sorts of things. If you're a bit lost for conversation, now you can start up a conversation and topics to bring up. But it's very free-flowing and meant to be friendly, etc. And so the volunteers that we train up, and some of the community centres, etc., already have volunteers. They have their Working with Children check, or we call it in Victoria. Other states call it a blue card, where they've got, or they've been signed off in terms of that they're safe people to have working as volunteers. We have them to get a Working with Children check, because you never quite know who a Chatty customer's going to bring to the table. But yeah, we do our best to engage with our volunteers around that. We make ourselves available for phone calls if they're concerned. But yes, we do the best we can at the moment with if somebody did have a mental health problem, to provide them with resources that would have them seek professional assistance. Does that explain it well enough?
I think it explains it very well. Thanks, Glenys.
Okay, thank you.
It's interesting that some years ago now, when you could get money from aluminium cans at depot, an organisation I was chair of ran a depot for many years. And it was interesting that some people would come with their cans, but hung around for a chat. They get $1 for a bag of cans, but they'd want to tell you the story of their lives. Obviously, lonely people.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
I think that's right in a lot of situations, and particularly if you look at our everyday interactions as consumers, and if you're going to get your cup of coffee, people get to know your name and what kind of coffee you have. We used to go to Coles a lot and get to know the checkout people, the local supermarket, and so there's a challenge now with technology where some of that's being automated. You have you check out yourself, and so you don't get the chat to the checkout person, and I think that social community, bonding is so important for so many different avenues of a healthy society and a healthy community. And I think with artificial intelligence and automation, it brings a lot of benefits, but there's also the risk of further isolation, and which is not healthy for a community at all. I think we need these kind of meeting places like we always have since the birth of time. We're group animals, so we work very well, and we're collaborating and interacting and working together. And I think with climate change, there's climate breakdown, but there's also societal breakdown, and so it's even more important to have things like the Chatty Cafe and stronger you know, community groups and stronger collaboration at all age groups. We need to come together like more than ever before. So congratulations, Glenys, on your work. I don't know if anyone has one quick question for me. I do actually have a nightly ritual of telling my toddlers a bedtime story before they go to sleep, and I haven't missed one yet.
Well, we don't want you to miss it, and we don't want to miss our coffee either.
Yeah, and I know you have a coffee in a Chinese restaurant waiting. So if anyone has a question for me, I'd love.
We've got one question in the room, and I think this will have to be the last one.
Okay, sure.
Damien, I won't hold you up. Just a quick one. I love the, I guess, slow fashion movement and the right to repair and the circular economy idea. How do you balance that with the fact that space costs money, time costs money, consumables need to be bought, tools cost money, etc., etc.?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of bigger organisations, it's weird. It's a question of scale and value. Patagonia has been one of the most successful brands in the last 5-6 years, and they offer a lifetime repair warranty for all their clothing and goods, and you know, and their clothing and goods aren't. I mean, they're a little bit more. They're a premium product, but you know, I think, yeah. So that, you know, that's kind of built into their business model and their costs, you know, that repair model, and people keep coming back and buying things because it's such a, you know, a good story. It's an opportunity to do something right by the planet by buying their products. So people are buying their goods. From a community perspective, I think you're talking about, is that right, as far as purchasing equipment and for like maker labs and being able to repair things? Is that what you're saying?
John Hall, I think you've got your hand up, but we'll have to be quick and short.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say that I back up David's invite to come down to our place, because one of the things that we've been trying to do is to encourage younger people to come. It's very disappointing to us that we've set up all of this and we just can't get the younger people to join in. And you know, even my own grandchildren, I've said, do you want to come down there and whatever, but there doesn't seem to be any interest in attending these places, and we've got a massive building at Moorabbin that we would like to get occupied. So if you folks can help us in some way, we're very willing to help you.
Yeah, that's wonderful, John, and you know, well done to you and David for investing your time and effort and often money. This equipment's not cheap to set this up. But I think, you know, explore you know, collaborations with local schools, and there'll be lots of different ways you can get out into that community, access to younger crowd.
Well, we'd welcome your advice on that, I think.
Yeah, I'd love to catch up after this discussion and chat some more and brainstorm ways to get the.
We have a volunteer party on Saturday. I'm gonna invite you down there. It starts at 12.
Another opportunity is another opportunity is what someone was mentioning about universities and young and students in universities. It might not always be the sort of 18 to 20 group, but you'll get the 20 to 24 group in terms of people coming in from universities and wanting to practice their English, as well as you know, bringing along friends, etc. So that would be another way to start. If you create momentum here, I know it's not going to be, you know, build it and they will come, but you know, with organic growth, etc. If people think they're coming to a really welcoming environment, and there's people to chat to, and they can also learn, particularly if they're interested in technology, etc. And for young people, that gentleman whose grandchildren don't want to come, if they know that they're coming, it's going to be fun. and there is a whole element to intergenerational. They might think you're old grandpa, but you know, if you bring them along and there's other kids to hang out with too, and you've got a pool table here and blah blah blah. I mean, you know, make it fun, and they'll come along and definitely be able to enjoy themselves.
And I think you touched on something by talking about the pool table. I mean, a lot of these spaces I've seen are successful when they have like a multi-purpose space, because, you know, we as makers and craftspeople, we can get very protective of our tools and our little area, and that sometimes can limit that cross-fertilization you need between different activities to build a community. So sometimes it's about, you know, just being open to sharing and a diverse use of your space. That could also be a clue to getting greater, you know, participation. But look, thank you so much. I will run now and heed the call of the toddlers before they sleep. And thanks so much for having me. And hopefully I'll see you on today, John and David. And lovely to meet you all. And just like I would like to say personally, thank you to all of you and your great work and your altruism and helping people with the MelbPC initiatives over the years. It's fantastic. Keep it up, and you know, all that goodness will come back to you. So thanks for having me.
Some years ago, I made the observation that there's three types of people in the world. There's those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who've got no bloody idea. And tonight we've been hearing from two speakers who come into the category of making things happen, and what they're making happen is very worthwhile. And we thank Damien and Glenys very much for coming and sharing their passion with us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very welcome. Thank you.
Now, our 15-minute break is going to have to be a bit shorter than that if we can do it. But for those in the room, we've got coffee and nibbles up the back, and we'll draw the raffle while we're drinking our coffee. And I hope that Glenys will be here long enough to draw the first ticket out of the raffle.
And you've got a pool table too.
I beg your pardon?
And you've got a pool table too.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yes. Well, those
I think I'd like to let the speakers know that there were at one time 55 people online. So,
thank you.
So
Thanks, John.
we did appreciate them. Thank you.
Thanks very much, John.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. I've been told to be quick tonight, so I'll try and get through what I've got to say as quickly as possible. So first item tonight is our monthly Volunteer Achievement Award. So this month's recipient is Jeff Amor, and so we've got a certificate here for Jeff. I believe he's online. He's received his Volunteer Achievement Award for his efforts in running and volunteering in the Be Connected program, which, if you don't know, runs on the second and fourth Wednesdays of every month. And so, yeah, for his efforts, Jeff's chosen a $50 J-Car voucher. Every winner gets either a J-Car voucher, a Bunnings voucher, or a Coles Group voucher. So big congratulations for Jeff, and thank you for all his volunteer efforts. And are you there, Jeff? Do you want to say a quick word?
Yeah. Hi, Hugh. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I really appreciate the gift of kindness, and I just want to thank the other members of the Be Connected group. There's John Sims, there's Stuart, Steph, Mick was helping us out there for a while. So it is a team effort, and we get a lot out of it, and so do the people that come off the street to get a bit of advice.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jeff. So we really appreciate your efforts, and we know it makes a big difference to a lot of people in the club. So thank you again, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Volunteering at MelbPC. So I talk about this every month. So I was going to ask a question: how many volunteers do you think it takes to put on the monthly meeting every month? Does anyone have an idea of roughly how many volunteers it takes?
5.
Not 50. Yeah, pretty close, Barry. 8 or 9. So yeah, it's possibly a lot more volunteers than you would think that would be required to put on this event. And most of our events probably require more volunteers than you'd think as well. So the point is that we rely on volunteers. We can't do anything that we do really without volunteers. We have one paid staff member, and we won't survive without getting more volunteers and having more people step up to help us with different things like the monthly meeting or in the office or with Be Connected or iHelp or whatever it might be. So if you're out there and you're thinking that you'd like to help, or if you've got the spare time, then please get in touch with me and please ask me how you could help. Quick update on the CNC project. So we're making good progress with it. Last week the guys and ladies tested the software. They mounted the control board and they worked out some of the wiring. And so they're getting much closer to having a completed working machine. So that's exciting. And I'm sure when it's completed, we'll have a demonstration of it here at a monthly meeting somehow. That's with a camera downstairs in the workshop. I know everyone's been quite interested in the club strategy renewal that we're doing. There's still a lot of work to do before we report back to the full membership of the club. It's clear though that we have to attract a lot more future members, aged particularly in the 25 to 45-year-old age bracket, and you know that resonates with some of the comments that John Hall was making before in the question section. And we need these people so they can be the next 20+ year members of the club. So we need to get new and exciting activities for this sort of age bracket. Things like you know, more makerspace sessions per week and increasing, you know, the depth and breadth of our makerspace. And you know, hands-on groups to discuss things like Linux and related technologies and Python programming and electronics and 3D printing and cosplay is a popular thing with younger people. So we need to, you know, have groups around that as well. So there's lots of things that we need to do, and so we need to work out a strategic plan of how we're going to achieve all those, and that's what we're trying to do this year as a committee. These will of course be in addition to the activities and services that we already offer, which we will continue to offer as long as people want them. And we need to make Moorabbin more of a fun place to come and socialise with other people who love tech and science. You know, at the moment it's very much a place where you come if there's something on, but you know, we want to try and make it into a place where you just drop into, you can meet someone, you know, have a chat, Chatty Cafe, you know, kind of concept, I guess, in a way. And you know, that's what we want to try and achieve here. So that's part of our plan as well. So as I said, a lot more to work out, a lot more to discuss with the committee, and then to give feedback to the entire membership. So I will update you further again next month, but that's an update for now. Any quick questions before I go? No? Okay, well, thank you everyone. Have a great month, and I'll see you next month.
Thanks for looking after us, Hugh.
Thanks, Hugh. Yes, I was going to say the work that this committee does now and past committees over the years is quite a challenge. I've certainly not put my hand up for it, but for those who, Hugh and the others on the committee who do it, we do appreciate it. So thank you very much. Now, the next item is we hear from the iHelp people, and it's Bert Alisic. Bert, would you say your name? I can't say it right.
Yeah, you're pretty close. Alisic.
Alisic. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all right. Thanks. Thanks, Barry.
Bert's one of our regulars, and he'd no doubt like to tell us a little bit about what's happening with iHelp, and then some Q&A. Now, Bert, we will close the meeting formally at 9 o'clock, yep. But if you are happy to do so and people have still got questions, it can continue informally, but that's up to you.
Yeah, well, I have to warn you, I've got one of the deadliest diseases around, and it's called man cold.
Oh.
And I've had the rotten thing for about 10 days. I haven't slept very well. I've been coughing like crazy for the last 10 days, even at night. So I'm just a bit tired. So,
well, perhaps we'd better let you go. Perhaps we'd better not continue informally.
Well, you know, everybody else can continue informally, and I'll stay on as long as someone would like to ask me questions, but we'll see how we go. Okay, thanks, Barry. I just made a few notes. I'm never quite sure what to say during these things. I usually try and tell you stories, and I was told to stop talking about this 99-year-old member that we were helping. But anyway, I'll just say one last thing. I had a coffee with him and his wife in the local supermarket, in the local community centre. I can't think properly either, which is not a change. Anyway, the problem is that his dementia has really got bad. And he didn't even remember me, but his wife said that if he's outside of his normal comfort zone, his house, that it seems to affect his memory. He just doesn't remember people out of context, sort of thing. But anyway, he's almost 100. He'll make 100 in about 3 months, I think. But we'll see how he goes. He's done an amazing job. All right, that's it about him. And I just thought I'll just give you a few statistics, perhaps. I helps. You know, we do. I think we do a fairly good job. Much more with the other members of iHelp. I'm not as clever as a lot of them, but anyway, I try to do my bit. Anyway, just to give you some statistics, the last 3 months, Harry has prepared these figures, Harry Lewis, and we had total of 22 jobs in February and 19 members involved. So that means 3 of those jobs were with a member more than once. And in March it was 39 and the members involved was 32. And then in April, the total jobs was 19 up to the 16th, and there were 14 members involved. Now, I did a subsequent statistic to that, and up to the end of the month, up to yesterday, we'd had a total of, I'll just find it, don't I? 31 completed tasks for April. I didn't break out how many were multiples, but yeah, it's usually about 5% or so. Someone asking several times for more support. I just thought I'd tell you a little bit, maybe. I hope this is of interest, about some of the members that we've helped and the sort of things that concluded from our help. So we had someone who needed help.
But maybe one story if you can, because some people are keen to get onto questions.
Really? Okay.
We don't want to get to 9 o'clock without people having the opportunity.
Okay. 8:42. All right. Which one? Okay. I've just got one here that I'll use as an example. We got a lot of people who are fairly basic in their computer use. So there was one here, forgot password and trouble confusing with private Gmail account. So we just helped him by resetting his password, because once he's forgotten, you know, it's the only way that we can reinstall him. So reset his password and then explain, you know, why you need the 2 IDs. One's for MelbPC user group and the other one is for his private Gmail account. So another one I helped some time ago, I got him to actually use the same password for both accounts. and that makes it really easy because he doesn't have to keep changing around with the passwords, and the two email addresses come up at the time that he needs them. So he just clicks on password and it's gone. So that's about it. Now, if some people have got questions, I better stop talking and listen to some questions. I may not be able to answer, but some of our other iHelp people I think are online. I saw Harry was there, and between us we should be able to answer. So how does this work? I've got to see what, change the view so that I can see everybody.
Well, we should be able to see online if someone puts a hand up.
Yep.
Anyone in the room?
Okay.
No? You might be able to go to bed early.
I might. Okay, that would be good. Okay. Another point, seeing as I've still got a bit of time, like a lot of us, we're concerned about our membership, and we can see that the drop-off in membership to some extent with the drop-off in the number of people we need to help on a regular basis. So our monthly numbers, down to say around about 30 to 40. At one stage, there used to be about 80, and could be higher. So that seems to indicate that our number of members probably is halved. I was going to try and get those figures, but anyway, some of our other members may know those.
Well, Bert, there's a couple of hands up.
Right.
There's Peter Carpenter was first.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, Barry. Yes, Bert. I've got a question about monitors. I've got a 27-inch Dell monitor that I've had for a few years, and when it wakes up every day, half the screen is full of stripes, and the other half for a few minutes is just one blank color. So I'd say it's on the way out. Are there any preferences amongst the club members for larger screens, their brands, or any recommendations of brands not to buy?
The other thing I was just going to say, Peter, it could be your video card in your computer. Maybe that could be causing it. I don't know. You can borrow another. Sorry,
I switched between a few computers with different sockets on the back, so
yeah,
I'd say it's the screen itself.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
But okay,
So any favoured or disfavoured brands?
I can make a comment. Anyone who wants to run two screens, make sure that they're both the same brand, because the phosphors tend to be different between the two different brands, and you will not be able to make the colours exactly the same. And it mightn't matter unless you're doing photographs.
Yeah.
But make sure your two computers are the same brand.
Two
screens, I mean to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually got two odd screens, but the colours aren't exact, but just a matter, as you say, how much you need it.
Doing.
Yeah.
All right. We didn't get any more comments there.
Anybody else?
Can I chip in here?
Of course.
I've really got no means of comparing quality here, but I bought from Aldi recently 2 LG monitors, which seem to be pretty good value for money. I think they're about $250 or something like that. 32-inch, and I've got them side by side here, and it's just everything I want, except that they don't have speakers at the back. But I bought one a while ago, and then when my previous screen failed, I bought the second one. So I've now got 2 LGs that match perfectly, and they've been fine. But you can pay $850 easily for a screen of this size. $250 seem to be good. The other alternative, of course, is to buy a couple of cheap TV sets.
Well, screens are cheap enough.
Yeah, well, the other thing is you just have to wait for Aldi to have them on special again. That's the only problem.
Well, they had them recently. You might find them in the back room.
Michael, that's you speaking, is it? I can't tell.
I have a query regarding smartphones. Back in February 2018, I bought an Oppo A73 phone, and about 9 months later, we bought another one for my wife, identical phone. Now, I'm with Aldi, which is Telstra. She's with Belong, which also uses Telstra. She's got a message from Belong to say that Telstra are going to turn off the G3 support, or the switch, whatever it is, and so we have to buy a new phone. Then there's been talk about this happening to a lot of people who've got older phones. And I rang Oppo today, and the chap said that no, they're not going to upgrade anything, the operating system or whatever it is. We will have to buy a new phone. Has anybody else had this experience, and is that what we have to do?
Hi, it's Trish. I've actually believed the G3 or 3G network is going to be turned off, similar to what the analogue was 20 odd years ago. And you will need a new phone, but check to see if your phone is G3 and isn't like a G4 or 4G. Yeah, just check what level it is first before you go and buy one.
Excuse me.
That's right. Yes, I did check that, and there's no way that I can upgrade the operating system. So that's why I rang Oppo, and they confirmed that nope, stiff cheddar. I've got to buy, well, 2 new phones now. And in fact, the Oppo has been absolutely terrific. I think it cost me $360 or so when I bought it in 2018, and when we bought my wife's, it was about $70 cheaper than that. The battery's working fine, everything's working fine, but it seems we're obliged to buy a whole new setup.
Okay. Yeah, it's a hardware issue rather than a software issue. That's the problem. I mean, of course, those of us with the older phones find that we can't upgrade our Android. That's a genuine issue, and I'm going to be in the market for a new phone just to get a higher level of Android for my Samsung A70, but that has 4G. And the other dimension here, which has been a bit discussed in Spaces, has to do with emergency calls. And there are problems, I think, even for maybe some 4G phones. If they won't support VoLTE, that's voice over LTE, which is when the phone system can actually use the internet connection. But if you get a new phone, you will not have that problem. You certainly need a new phone because 3G just won't be there. It won't connect to the internet, to the phone system anyway, when they cut it off. And it's not unique to Telstra. I think they're repurposing the 3G network for something else. I can't remember what it is. So yes, it's mainly a matter of age, Michael, but there may well be, you said 2018, that sounds a little bit recent to me, but I suppose it was where you were in the market. In other words, at any one moment, the more we pay, the more future-proofing we're buying, I think, as a general rule.
Can I chip in as well? I've recently tried to help somebody who has an Oppo phone and wanted to install the Victorian Emergency Plus app, and it's incompatible because Oppo have their own emergency app, and they won't accept the Victorian one. So that's one thing to take into account. The other thing to take into account, Michael, I don't know what car you've got, but if you've got a fairly recent car with a VDU unit in it that's supposed to be taking Android phone or iPhone compatibility, make sure you've got that compatibility with your car, with your phone, because I've had 2 phones which have proven to be incompatible with the car system, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's been a great problem.
Buy a new car.
Well, actually, we have changed cars since then, and I've still got a compatibility issue.
You bought the wrong car.
Richard, you've got your hand up again.
Yes, yeah, they may have to delay the switch off of the 3G network a bit until they sort out the through the O calls. Because there's been problems apparently with O calls relying on the 3G network, so that might give a little bit of breathing space. But in my case, I had an iPhone 4, which is only 3G, not 4G, and my solution was to buy a little Opus flip phone that through Australia Post was $90, and it's 4G compatible. It does have Bluetooth, so it'll connect with the car. It's got a nice loud ring. It tells me what day it is, and it's got very little of these other fancy computer phone applications, but it works very well as a telephone. It's got a nice loud ring. And so it's only $90 and it works on the 4G network. So have a look at your Australia Post catalogue.
Yeah, not everyone wants all the fancy stuff.
And it's also it's not locked to a network, so it's unlocked as well. So any of your current cards would work with it, but it's a lot better than $300 or $400 or $1,000 for one of those fancy phones.
Oh yeah.
You can do all that stuff on your desktop. You don't need a phone for that. Okay.
Just a point 2 on the 3G closure. It's Andrew McCauley, sorry. Also, if people have got those personal alarms, you know, the dongles that go around your neck, you press a button and it calls 5 predetermined numbers. A lot of those old ones are also 3G and they'll stop working as well. Generally, the companies that have sold them have been, well, in the case of my mother, the company that sold it have notified us. I was already aware of it, but you've got to buy a new 4G one at a considerable cost, of course. So that's the other one to watch. They're those little dongles that you wear around your neck with the SOS button on them.
Thank you. Now I can't see any more hands up, and it's getting close to 9 o'clock, and I think Bert needs to go to sleep, so we should let him go. I wanted to share with you though, last month I was in Warrnambool with our Probus group, and I was walking down the breakwater there and ran into this very old guy, and he was interesting because he had a peg leg, you know, a wooden leg, one of his legs from the knee down, and a hook where his right hand should be, and a patch over where he used to have a right eye. And I couldn't help but say to him, hey, I see you've got a peg leg and you've got a hook and you've got a eye. And he said, yes. He said, I used to be a pirate. You all knew that, didn't you? He said, I used to be a pirate. I said, well, that's fascinating. Tell me, how did you lose your leg? And he said, well, we were we had the longboat out and we were taking some treasure to bury it on a desert island in the Pacific. And he said, I jumped out of the boat into 2 feet of water, you know, just to beach it, and a shark came and clomped one bite, the leg was gone. That's terrible, it's terrible. Tell me about your hand. And he said, well, we were boarding this ship and I was reaching up onto the rails, you know, to climb over, and someone with a sword went, cleaned it right off. So, oh, that's awful. Tell me about your eye. And he said, well, I was up in the crow's nest. It was my turn up the top. And I heard this, you know, at the top of the mast, and I heard this sort of fluttering above me, and I looked up, and a seagull did its poop straight into my eye. And I said to him, that wouldn't cause you to lose your eye. And he said, no, I forgot about my hook. So with that, I declare the meeting closed, and thank you, Bert, and everybody else for their participation. Good night.
Okay. Good night.
Oh, and
thank you.
remember,
Another good meeting.
yes, and next Saturday is at midday, isn't it? It's the volunteers. There's a party for volunteers.
Yes, I've sent my apologies.
Yes.
I have a birthday function to go to on the Saturday, and yeah, so
well, we hope you're well enough to do it.
Yeah, I hope so too. So thank you. I really would have liked to have been there, but anyway.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks, all.